On the night of August 31st, 2021, a lone driver was traveling along a dark stretch of Highway 210 in rural Pender County, North Carolina. The road was silent. The forest loomed on either side, shadows stretching into the night. Little did he know, his life was about to take a turn into the unexplained. As the man drove, he noticed something strange on the road ahead. A figure, appearing to be a man, standing in the middle of the highway. According to the driver, the figure wore what looked like a Civil War-era uniform, and there was blood on its face. The man dialed 911 in a panic, and what you're about to hear is the real audio from that call.
Pender County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm driving on 210. I just crossed the Black River, and I thought I saw a guy standing on the side of the road bleeding.
Okay, where are you at, sir?
I'm on 210. I just crossed the Black River. I'm heading towards 53 East. I just passed Patriots Watch.
Okay, so you're over near Morse Creek?
Yes.
Okay.
Moments later, the unimaginable happened. Something landed in the bed of his truck. Terrified, the man shouted words that would soon echo across the internet. "That's not human! That's not human!"
And did you saw a man standing on the side of the road?
What the?
What was that, sir?
That's not human! That's not human!
Sir, are you okay, sir?
There's something in the bed of my truck!
Okay, what's in the road?
No, it's not in the road. It's in my truck. In the bed.
There's something in the bed of your truck?
Yes, ma'am. I just turned on my bed lights for my truck, and there's something in my bed.
Okay, sir, when you say something, what do you mean?
I just knocked it off of the bed of my truck and went over my roof.
Okay, what was it?
Deputies searched the area, but found nothing. No footprints, no animal tracks, and no witnesses. What they did find was the driver's truck, showing visible scratches, and a verified 911 call documenting his frightened report. According to Sheriff Alan W. Cutler, the 911 call was very unnerving and left a strong impression the first time he heard it. He provided further details about the incident, including the circumstances described by the caller and the scratches found on the truck.
According to the CAD notes and the deputy reports, this thing jumped into the back of his pickup truck and began to actually beat on the top of the cab of his truck. You could actually hear something beating on the top of the truck. The caller stated that it was beating and scratching on the top of the cab of his truck. He actually stated that he was able to engage his bed light and was able to somewhat identify this object that was in the back of his truck. At some point, he was able to slam on his brakes, and the force of inertia actually threw this thing out over his hood and onto the highway, where this thing stood up in the roadway, made its way to the wood line, and disappeared in the woods.
The man who witnessed this bizarre creature from inside his truck chose to remain anonymous, but he agreed to take part in an interview, one in which he described every unsettling detail of the experience. What he recounted was nothing short of terrifying. This is the true interview, told in his own words, capturing his perspective on what happened and the fear that still lingers.
I'm about to interview the young man that was driving the truck the night of the frantic 911 call. T, finally I get a chance to meet you. I got to tell you, I heard the 911 call a couple of months ago, actually. And it's been a little bit of a challenge to get the sheriff's schedule, my schedule, and finally now we've got your schedule all worked out so that we can talk to you and get you to tell your story. Obviously, we're not going to share your name or your face. Totally understand that. But after talking with you, clearly your voice is the voice that's on that 911 call. If you would, just start wherever you want to. We want to hear the whole story. Take as much time as you need.
I guess I'll start from the beginning of the trip. I was coming up from Florida to visit my family. At the time, I was going to a trade school down there, and when I was driving up here to where the incident occurred by the battlefield, it was already easily like well into the morning. I wasn't looking at my phone. I just know it was pitch black outside, and it was pitch black. I couldn't see the moon, stars, nothing, just barely the road through my headlights. And I had my window down because the AC wasn't working the best. And as I was coming around, there's a massive right curve right there before you cross the Black River, and then after that, you have the battlefield. So on that massive black curve, as I'm coming around, I had just started the curve, and I was about a third of the way through it, and I look over into the ditch on my right, because I caught a quick glimpse of something, and as I take a further look, it looks like there's I'd say probably a 30-something-year-old man standing in that ditch wearing what looks like an old Civil War uniform, just covered head to toe in blood. And the uniform was torn as well. That threw me off because I didn't expect to see it at like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'm calling 911 after I see him to report that, because for all I know, it could have just been a normal guy that was injured and needed emergency help. It looked like what had happened is he hit his head on something.
Okay.
And the blood was just pooling down over his face and torso.
Okay.
And, well, as I was calling, everything seemed perfectly normal. Just quick phone call to 911, let them know, hey, there's a guy out here, and try to find somewhere safe to park so that way I can take them to him. Well, as you know from the 911 call, right as soon as I reported that, I already had my window up at that point. All of a sudden, I heard a massive bang on my truck, and my truck bounced down from the rear, like I was pulling a heavy trailer and I hit a pothole. And so I'm sitting there going, what the hell was that? Which I'm pretty sure you heard me yell, what the hell? I turned on my bed light, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and all I saw was this white, like snow white face right up against my rear windshield. Like it was looking into my truck, trying to see what it could see. It had shallow, sunken eyes. It had no nose. Just think if you took skin and put it on a human skull and stretched it thin. Couldn't see any ears, just bad. And immediately, I just started screaming. I didn't realize until afterwards that I had said that's not human on the call, because it was just the first thing I started screaming, because I was terrified. I didn't have my firearm with me, nothing. All I had was a wood splitting axe. So that's all I had. So, and my truck is loud as is, and it picks up speed fairly easily. Well, my truck at the time, it had a gas-powered 6-liter V8 Vortec on it, and it was a proper dual exhaust, hence why I had the window up, because that truck is nice and loud.
Okay.
Well, I'm doing in between like 55, 60 miles an hour when this happens, and I just stomped on the gas for a second. When I looked at the speedometer before I slammed on my brakes, I was doing maybe 80. And I slammed on those brakes with all my might, and I went from like 80 miles an hour down to like 35 in just like a couple of seconds. And all I see is just a super scrawny long body just fly over my truck in a ball rolling. And as I then swerve to the left and get back in the travel lane, and I floor it. And as I'm swerving to the left, I see it stand up, and it is easily taller than that truck.
No way.
I'm 5'10". The truck is about 2 inches taller than I am. And this thing was easily like maybe 7 feet. And as I'm past it, I look in my mirror and I see it bolt to the left into the woods, and it looked like I don't even know what the hell, because it looked like somebody took a normal human and stretched them out, starting with the limbs.
Wow.
Like abnormally long legs and arms, and it just took off into the woods. And I just said, nope, I'm out of here. I'm not staying to figure out what this is. And there's a gas station all the way at the corner where the highway intersects. And I pulled into that gas station. I was doing like 90 all the way to that gas station because that was the only place with any light that I saw. And I just stopped in that parking lot and waited like 10, 15 minutes for state troopers to show up. Well, next thing I know, the state troopers show up at the gas station, and I'm just staring back at that road to make sure that it's not coming back.
Right.
So I tell them what happened. They proceed to look at my truck, look in the bed of the truck, look on top of the cab, and on top of the cab, clear as day, you can see like it was scratching trying to get into my truck.
Really?
Or when it initially hit, another way to look at it is when it hit the back of the truck and landed in the bed, like it had latched onto the hood for a second and scraped trying to balance itself.
At the end of the day, we're left with more questions than answers. Was this nothing more than a hoax, an elaborate tale crafted by a man seeking to entertain himself or stir the public's curiosity? If that were true, why reject the spotlight? Why refuse interviews, turn down attention, and insist on hiding his identity instead of embracing the immediate fame a story like this would bring? Most hoaxers crave recognition. He avoided it. Maybe the explanation is far more ordinary. Perhaps the creature was simply a common animal from the area, warped in shape and size by the shadows of night, the glare of headlights, and the adrenaline pumping through a man who genuinely believed he was in danger. Panic has a way of twisting the familiar into something monstrous. And yet, some details simply don't fit. The size, the shape, the movement, the overwhelming sense that something was watching him long before he noticed it. So we're left with the final possibility, one that's far more unsettling. Maybe this was a genuine encounter with something unknown, something that doesn't fit neatly into our understanding of wildlife or reality, a presence that stepped into his world for reasons we may never understand, leaving behind only fear, confusion, and a lingering sense that the truth lies just out of reach. Whatever the answer is, one thing remains certain. The mystery is far from solved, and perhaps that's what makes it so unnerving. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the unexplained, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more chilling encounters, and hit that notification bell so you never miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the scariest things are the ones we can't explain.